Handed from three. Hull comes soaring in again. This uncanny knack. And cashes in.
Is on the upper left wing. Just got inside, circles around.
Handed from three. Hull comes soaring again. Just uncanny knack. Fever fans could feel it in the air from the very beginning of Game 3. But what they saw unfold wasn't basketball. It was daylight robbery. Indiana fought, defended, built a lead, and then a series of whistles ripped the game right out of their hands. Suddenly, the Las Vegas Aces were living at the foul line. Aaliyah Wilson was throwing elbows. Aaliyah Boston couldn't get a fair challenge recognized, and the entire Gainbridge crowd knew they were watching something beyond competition. The Aces didn't outplay the Fever. They were handed that win. Worst of all, the controversy buried what should have been a career-defining night for Lexi Hull. From the opening minutes, the whistles dictated tempo. Every bit of Indiana's physical play was punished, while Vegas found themselves rewarded for the same contact.
Steph, why don't you think you were able to find any flow? And when that was the case, what are you trying to do to jumpstart things, maybe on the defense?
Well, it's hard for us to find flow when there's a foul call every 10 seconds. I mean, it just really is. And when they're at the free throw line, we can't get up and down the floor. And that's a challenge. They were much more aggressive and physical defensively. We didn't counter that with our off-ball actions or with our back cuts. So they took us out of our comfort zone. I mean, offense is about rhythm, it's about timing, it's about spacing. We allowed them to do that, and they kept us from doing it.
In Game 1, it was already noticeable. Indiana bodied up, stood tall, and somehow the possessions ended with the Aces at the stripe. By Game 2, the imbalance grew louder, forcing Fever coach Stephanie White to call it out postgame, pointing out that her team couldn't even find rhythm because there was a foul every few seconds.
Aaliyah Wilson is 1 for 12 as a foul is called on Boston, and that will be number 2 on Aaliyah Boston.
You saw Indiana picking up full court pressure defensively, and if you're Aaliyah Boston, that's the one spot on the floor you do not want to get a foul called.
And Stephanie White is trying to challenge it and did not call the timeout in time. Bray in the corner. Connects!
Offense relies on spacing, rhythm, and flow. The Fever had none of it because stoppages piled up and Vegas controlled the line. By the time Game 3 rolled around, it wasn't a pattern anymore. It was a wall Indiana couldn't climb. The nightmare came in the third quarter when Boston tried to challenge a foul on Jackie Young. White motioned for the review, but officials wouldn't acknowledge it. Seconds later, Chelsea Gray drilled a three, and the entire Gainbridge crowd gasped as Indiana's lead vanished in a blink.
This first half, Young attacking and denied. Timpson on the block. Hull needs some help. Dump it in Boston. Find the cutter. Timpson lays it in.
Clips went viral. Breakdowns flooded social media, showing how ignored challenges and flops shifted momentum. Fans saw Aaliyah Wilson extending legs on illegal screens, shoving defenders in the back, even flailing elbows, but no whistle. Meanwhile, Lexi Hull was called for fouls simply for moving her feet. 2 separate times in the same game, White wasn't allowed to use her challenge, leaving fans outraged and players deflated. Yet through the chaos, Hull refused to let the night belong to officiating. Playing on a questionable back injury, she turned in a gritty masterpiece. Expected only to log a few minutes, she instead scored 16 points, grabbed 10 rebounds, handed out 4 assists, blocked 2 shots, and nailed 3 triples. Each shot felt like a lifeline as Vegas threatened to pull away. She tied a franchise playoff mark with 8 threes across 2 games and delivered her playoff career high. What made it unforgettable wasn't just numbers, it was effort. Diving for loose balls, fighting taller players for rebounds, wincing in pain but refusing to quit. Her energy gave Indiana hope every time the whistles tried to take it away. Gainbridge roared when she hit shots, and fans knew they were watching a player putting her body on the line for her team. And that's what makes Game 3 sting the most. On the same night, Hull gave Indiana her best playoff performance. Her effort was buried under officiating controversy. She became the symbol of this Fever team, underestimated, beaten down, but never giving in. While Hull battled through injury to inspire, all eyes turned toward the league's biggest star, and Aaliyah Wilson simply didn't deliver. Imagine being an MVP candidate, the face of the league, and going nearly 3 quarters without hitting a shot. That was Wilson in Game 3. After opening with a 3, she went ice cold, shooting 1 for 11 by halftime and finishing 6 for 20 overall for just 13 points. Instead of dominating the paint, she drifted outside, settled for contested jumpers, and looked visibly frustrated as Aaliyah Boston locked her down. Yet despite Wilson's struggles, the Aces still won, and that's what grates on Fever fans. Vegas didn't need its superstar to shine, because every break went their way. Jackie Young carried them with 25 points, Chelsea Gray added 15, and role players chipped in while officials tilted momentum. It wasn't talent alone, it was whistles that softened the blow. Media coverage made it worse. Instead of crediting Boston for shutting down Wilson, stories highlighted rebounds, blocks, or praised Vegas depth. Lost in the narrative was the real truth. Indiana bottled up Wilson, forced her into 30% shooting, and should have walked away with a win. The only reason they didn't was officiating. Even Becky Hammon complained afterward that Wilson only had 1 free throw in 38 minutes. But the irony was obvious. Vegas had been gifted free throws all series long. That's what made the win feel hollow. It wasn't a statement by champions. It was a survival act backed by whistles. Now everything shifts to Game 4 at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, where Indiana faces elimination. This isn't just another playoff game. It's survival. 1 loss ends the season, and the Fever know it. Becky Hammon is already planting seeds, warning that calls might go Indiana's way this time, even after 3 games of Vegas favoritism. But 17,000 fans packing Gainbridge won't sit quietly. They'll make every possession a storm, fueling the Fever each time Boston scores or Hull hits another 3. Indiana's plan is simple. Establish Boston inside, get Kelsey Mitchell going early, and ride Hull's momentum. Vegas has cracks. Wilson's confidence is shaky, Jackie Young can't carry forever, and their depth hasn't faced an atmosphere like Gainbridge. If the Fever attack those weaknesses, the series flips. Game 3 wasn't lost, it was stolen, and Game 4 becomes bigger than survival. It's about exposing how hollow Vegas's wins look without officiating help. If Hull fights through pain again, if Mitchell heats up, if Boston keeps punishing Wilson, Gainbridge can erupt and Indiana can prove they belong. Their season isn't finished. It's about to get louder.